Alrighty, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Tran podcast. It's been a whirlwind. This is actually my first recording of 2023. My goal has been to do it once a week, but speaking frankly, the year has gotten off to a hot start. And by hot start, I just mean that just working on a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, well, not obviously. If you're just tuning in, this is your first time, you're not familiar with me or who I am or what I do. My work, my day job is a sixth grade teacher. In my free time, I do basketball training. I'm also coaching a team at the school that I teach at. It's a fifth and sixth grade team. So that on top of all the other many things that comes up in life, errands, household, family, and personal development, all that kind of stuff. It's been a whirlwind, but that being said, I made some time to record and sit down to actually do this one. And I do have quite a few things to talk about. I am a little bit limited on time, but I believe I can get it all in about 30 minutes. At least that's the goal. So I kind of already touched upon how I'm doing recently. Like I said, it's been a busy month, but all of it is good busy, and all of it is things that I've signed up for. It's all voluntary, so there's no there's no complaints. I think I'm actually in a pretty good spot despite just working on a whole bunch of different things. And this may sound pretentious or flexing or bragging or whatever. I sincerely don't mean it like that. We all have our things. I recognize that, and we're all busy. Everybody has many things that they have to tend to on a day-to-day basis. And for me in my world, there's just been a lot of things that I'm working on. I'm really trying to do well as a teacher. I'm a first-year teacher. I'm really trying to push hard on my basketball training and trying to get the word out of who I am, what I do, and really trying to be like top tier, essentially. I'm really trying to scratch and claw to prove myself. And it's not that I'm trying to prove myself to anybody. I'm just trying to elevate my abilities and get better and just demonstrate. Kind of like how people do through sports. Like, my abilities are undeniable. The same way that I had to scratch and claw and work to do that when I was playing basketball, I'm trying to take that same mentality to this, to the basketball training side of things. So, yeah, it's been busy. And then also being a big brother, taking care of things around the house, helping out around the house. It's been all kinds of stuff. But anyways, that's where I've been at recently. But I am in a good place. I'm in a good headspace. I'm working hard, but everything is right where I want to be, essentially. But anyways, I do have some topics for today, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot for a variety of reasons. And essentially, it's this. I can describe it two ways. So one is there's this Latin phrase. It's Memento Mori, and it pretty much means remember that you have to die. Okay, and the idea is pretty much a reminder of the inevitability of death. And yeah, like I said, I've been thinking about this a lot for a variety of reasons, and let's get right into it. So one of them being from the Stoic perspective. So I'm actually in the past couple of years, really, I first came across Stoicism in 2019. I'll just touch upon that real quick because I think it's a cool story. So 2019 was actually a really, really hard year for me personally. Just so many different things going on. To touch upon it, I was living in LA at the time. there was a lot going on at the place that I was living. Like there was a lot of tension. I was not working, and my funds were diminishing very rapidly and pretty much got damn near to zero before I was able to finally find work and, get the income going again. But I had to really exhaust all the available funds that I had. There were quite a few things going on with my family, like my immediate family. I was in a relationship at the time that was very, very rocky and very just mentally taxing. And also the last major thing was, because I wasn't working, I was looking for full-time work at the time. And the job that I had been gunning for, oh man, I haven't thought about this for a while. I'll try to share it quickly. But essentially, I had been looking for a bunch of jobs and just came across a whole bunch of weird situations. So one example was like, did the interviews, there was probably like 3 or 4, and then for whatever reason, they wanted to hire me, but then at the very last minute, they were like, you know what? We probably can't make this position available anymore. I can't recall the reason, but something about like not having the available money, whatever. So I went through the entire process only to find that out like a week. Only to find that out at the very end. And then there was another job that I had applied for, similar, went through the interview process. I think this one was like 2 or 3. And got a really weird response. It was like, you didn't get the job, but the job, essentially, I applied for a job, and when they had got back to me, they said, yeah, so that job is actually not available, so we're pretty much not going to be bringing you on. Something weird like that. So again, it was kind of like you went through the whole process only to find out that for whatever reason the job wasn't available. And so those are 2 situations. And then the job that I ultimately ended up getting, it took them a really, really long time for them to get back to me. So similar, and I'm sure many other people can speak to a similar experience where I go through like 3 or 4 interviews, and then it's essentially the waiting part, right? Like you're waiting for them to deliberate, get together, talk about it, and then finally get back to you, right? And this whole thing probably took at least like a month and a half for them to finally, maybe 2 months, honestly, for them to ultimately get back to me. And it was really down to the wire because the place that I was living, the lease was ending in like July or something. And because I did not have a job, I couldn't make a decision on what my next living situation would be. So the choices were, if I don't get one, I'm going to have to move back home. So it was really down to the wire. So they get back to me and they tell me, okay, you got the job. And then from that point on, it's like, now I have to scrap to find my next living situation because my lease is literally about to end. So all that to say, 2019 was a really tough year, right? But I think based on how the past couple of years have went, given the circus that was 2020, and just really the past couple of years have been all over the place, I think, for society and the world. At least that's what you hear and that's what you feel around. It's not all like that, so which I'll touch upon later in this recording. But that was essentially my situation. Tough year, right? And I had been, doing a lot of soul searching and a lot of searching for like how do people navigate tough times. And I guess here's where the cool story comes into play. So my first job out of college, I was a front desk person for the philosophy department at UCLA. And because I was a front desk person, I had access to pretty much everything, the library, all the supplies, all the rooms, blah, blah, blah. And there was a storage room where we kept all our supplies, and there was just a box of box of books, right? A whole bunch of books. And for me personally, I've always been interested in philosophy. So I'm just scanning these books, looking through, seeing what's up. And I come across one that is called Introduction to Vice and Virtue, right? And essentially it's I guess you could call it a compilation. It's a compilation of all these excerpts, right? So excerpts, if you're not familiar, it's small parts taken out of bigger books or bigger essays of all these prominent philosophers, right? So you got Nietzsche, Ayn Rand, Viktor Frankl, which I'll get into in a second, Thomas Hobbes, a whole bunch of other people, right? I just tried to name a few that came to top of mind. John Stuart Mill, and it's essentially talking about those topics like vice and virtue. So it's like, what is evil? What is good? What does it mean to be a good person? How do we contend with, suffering in the world? All these different topics. And there was one, I don't remember what chapter it fell under. It was probably something about human happiness or the ability to, find the silver lining in suffering. And so there's an excerpt from the story, or from the book rather, called Man's Search for Meaning. And this is where Viktor Frankl comes into play. So it's written by Viktor Frankl. And if you're not familiar with this book or who this person is, long story short, he is a concentration camp survivor during Nazi Germany. And after his experience, he developed this, let's say, philosophy, this type of therapy called logotherapy, right? And recalling, I don't know like how much he was inspired by the Stoics. I'm not 100% sure, but his philosophy, logotherapy, is very much aligned with the Stoic philosophy. And essentially that is something along the lines of, you can always control your mind. At the very least, there's a quote. You know what? I'm actually going to look it up right now. Let me see. You can take everything but the last. The human freedoms. So the quote from Viktor Frankl goes like this: everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms. To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And essentially, the Stoics believe very much the same thing. No matter the situation, no matter the circumstances, you can always control your interpretation, your view of the situation. At the very least, you have full power over your mind. And that's something that they really try to advocate. All people, kings, queens, peasants, right, at their time, everyday person, religious or not religious, that you can control your mind. And for Viktor Frankl, obviously, given that he is a concentration camp survivor, Nazi Germany survivor, he endured all kinds of atrocities, right? But he was able to come away with it with this powerful realization that even though they were suffering on a day-to-day basis, like tremendous suffering, the worst that any human can imagine, he was able to decide that, you know what, I have full power over my mind, and no matter what they do to me, I'm still going to do my best to hold on to that power, to essentially control my mind. And so I read this story, and the reason I bring this up, so I'm reading it in this book that I picked up from the philosophy department, again, Introduction to Vice and Virtue. So Viktor Frankl essentially introduces me to the concept of Stoicism, right? And then I look into Stoicism, and I go down that rabbit hole, and it really has changed my life. I've talked about it with so many different people around me that I'm close to and care about, because I think it is pretty powerful to make that realization. I think most people have probably heard something along the lines of, control what you can and don't worry about what you can't control, right? Things that are outside of your control. It's it is what it is, and you kind of have to just live with it, right? A lot of life is outside of our control, but the very least, the thing that we have full control over at all times is our mind. So I bring that up. I wanted to share that story because it is an interesting story, but I bring that up because one of the things that the Stoics talk about, and this is part of the Memento Mori, remembering that you will one day die, there's a quote from Marcus Aurelius, and essentially it goes something like this: remember that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you say, do, what you say and do, essentially. That's kind of like a rough paraphrasing, but that's essentially the idea. So I've been thinking about mortality a lot from that sense, and then the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I was listening to Lex Fridman and Mr. Beast. So they did a podcast together recently, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. And they were talking about recording a video that would be released if they were to suddenly pass away, right? Or, regardless, like whenever they were to pass away, like release this video after I've passed away, and kind of, what would you say in that kind of video? And I thought to myself, that sounds like an interesting exercise. The reason being, the Stoics actually encourage this. They say, meditate on your mortality, right? Remember that you eventually will one day leave this earth. So think about that, right? And think about what you want to do with your life, knowing that. And Mr. Beast and Lex Fridman, they were talking about, well, what would you want to say in that kind of video? And so that propelled me to actually ponder that a little bit and sit down and think about it. Because I think many of us have heard it before. It's cliche, but it's also, it really is important to think about that life is precious, life is short, and you never really know what could happen. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. I'm sure if you're listening, you've heard at least one of those things, if not all of them. But if you don't think about it on a regular basis, it's probably going to get, pushed to the side a little bit. So I wanted to sit down and actually do this and try to voice some things. Now I am on the time crunch, so I probably won't be able to get too deep into it, but here we go. This is the first time I don't have any preparation. I didn't put any thoughts down. So if I were to leave this life suddenly, what would you want people to remember? What would you want people to know? I think for me, know that, especially these days, I am trying to get everything that I can out of life. I am trying to savor every moment, every interaction with everybody, whether it be the janitor, the custodian at my school, whether it be taking my siblings to their practice or to their whatever, right, to school, or being able to have dinner with my mom or my dad and just catch up about whatever is going on. These days, given all of that I've mentioned so far, I really am trying to savor this life, knowing that at any moment I could leave and I don't have any control over that. And yes, it is a little bit scary, and yes, it is a little bit, it's heavy to talk about. I'll definitely say that it is heavy, and it is a little bit existential, a little bit anxiety inducing, but again, my belief, my take on it is that it is important, it is worth thinking about and considering. And so that's what's something that I would want people to know. I would want people to reflect and know that I believe in them, right? I would like to say, I know I can't control this, but please don't be sad, right? Know that I lived this life as best as I could have, and I enjoyed it. And for whatever reason, if it was my time, then so be it. Know that I'm okay with that reality, let's say, and go on in hopefully something that I've done, something that I've said, an interaction that we've had is inspiring for you to push forward, right? Whether in your own life or if there's something that we've done together or something that I've said to you that you want to push forward, or that you've heard me say that you want to push forward, do it. And do it knowing that although I may not be here in the physical, who knows what the afterlife entails, but know that I am there with you in spirit, and I am there with you through these words that I'm speaking at the moment. That's something that I would want people to know. Like, keep going, keep pushing. Appreciate the moments that you do have with, I guess this is the next point, is like, appreciate the moments that you do have with the people around you right now, right? And again, another cliche, something that many people have heard and said, but it's easy to forget. It's easy to take things for granted. So just do your best to remember, right? To remember that whenever you see grandma or grandpa, that could be the last time you interact with them, or anybody really, anytime you see them. So really try to savor those moments, be appreciative, remember that it could be the last time. So do your best to set aside any of the frustrations or drama or any of that. Set it aside and appreciate that person. Tell people that you love them. Tell people that you care about them. Reach out to people. Here's one that I'll probably eventually get to more in depth, but many people are reluctant to reach out first. And so I would encourage people to not be afraid of that. Like, if you want to see somebody, you want to talk to somebody, reach out, man, and connect, right? A lot of people are reluctant to do that. Maybe it's like, I don't want to bother somebody, or I don't want to be the first mover. Man, fuck that. You want to talk to somebody, you've been thinking about someone, friend, family, whatever, reach out, man, because, again, another cliche, but this life is really short. What else would you want people to know? I mean, well, I would then start talking to like specific groups. I would say to my family, to my siblings, my mom, my dad, my siblings, like, I love all of you. I hope what I've been able to do so far is inspiring to you. I hope that the moments that we have been able to share, you can cherish them. And again, just know, if it does ever happen, just know that I enjoyed my life. I lived as best as I could have, up to the point that, I'm no longer here. So don't be sad that I'm gone. I am grateful. I'm grateful for every second, every minute, every interaction. So remember that. And go on, carry the mantle. If anything that I've done inspires you, push that forward. If not, I'll be watching over you. I'll be with you in spirit. In however I can, you'll see me. You'll interact with me. Whether it be like the wind, the birds, the flowers. Somehow, some way, I'll be there. So keep pushing forward. Represent, work hard, be resilient, have purpose, think for yourself, do hard things, do scary things, be a good example, take initiative, improve the world, take care of your mental, all that kind of stuff, right? Everything that I've tried to do in my life, as best as you can, try to incorporate that into your life too. To my friends and all the people that I've met, I just want to say thank you. I would just want to say thank you. Thank you for the many memories that we've shared together. Thank you for the ups and the downs, the great moments, the silly moments. Thank you for anybody that's taken care of me, that's been there to listen, and share deep experiences with, deep conversations with. Thank you for all the triumphs, right? I've had so many fun, exciting, thrilling moments, whether it be just stuff in school or playing sports, playing basketball, running track, all the different things that I've done, and all the different people that I've done that I've been able to do it with. If we've crossed paths before, thank you. I really mean it. My memory is not so good these days, but when I sit back and reflect, and I do try to reflect as much as possible. Again, I'm only 27, but I do feel like I've lived a good life, a decent life, and I've done things that I've wanted to do, and I've made many mistakes, but I really have gotten good experience out of this. And so to all my friends and anybody that I've crossed paths with that I consider a friend or that considers me a friend, thank you. And similar message to what I've said to my siblings and my family. Keep going, push the ball forward, improve the world, think for yourself, try to be a good person, try to encourage peace and harmony, especially in these times. Have empathy for people that are struggling. Have empathy for people that think differently than you. Have purpose. Stay away from the hedonism. Have some real substance in your life, something that gives you deep and sincere meaning. All that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much it, because if you consider family, you got friends. And so I guess to kind of wrap up on this topic in particular, again, I believe it is important to meditate on your mortality. Remember that one day, sometime, a time that you may or may not expect, it will come to an end. So do your best to savor this life, get all the juice out of it that you can. Appreciate the people around you, appreciate the interactions that you get on a regular basis, however mundane they may be, however trivial they may seem. Know and realize that they are, this is life, and do your best to cherish that as much as possible. And I guess I'll close on some happy things that have happened recently that I've just been thinking about and I'm super appreciative of. So I'll shout out my basketball friends and my family here. I've been playing a lot of basketball recently. I just got a gym membership that has a basketball court, and so my friends and I, we've been playing in there. It's been a lot of fun, and we also still play at the park now that the rain has kind of stopped for the next couple weeks, it looks like. So we went back out to the park this past weekend, which was really nice. Heck of windy though. But anyways, we've been hooping, and I got some really good friends that I'll be hooping with, and it's such a good time for a variety of reasons. One, basketball really does take my mind, fully takes my mind off of whatever is going on. And if you don't know me, I love basketball. I love it. I can't get enough of it. It's really special to me. So, and then on top of that, I'm really cool with these guys that I play with. Shout out Egg, shout out Angel, Josh, Ray, Sergio, Smurf, Jose, Kiki, Ed, Francisco, Carlos, all these guys that I've met through basketball. Josh, I think I already said Josh. Jaron, Lino, Los, man, all these guys that I've met through basketball. I'm really, really appreciative. And it's a good time. And it's a really good time when you're getting wins, right? And you're getting wins playing basketball the right way. So I just wanted to call that out because it's been a good feeling recently, and I feel really good about my game. Like, I'm on point. I'm hitting shots. I'm attacking the basket. My handle is looking crispy, making passes, cutting to the basket, playing solid defense, blah, 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 all kinds of stuff. So it's been a good time. And the last thing, I'll just shout out my family. I won't get into too much details about my family situation at the moment, but I will say I'm really trying to put an emphasis on connecting on a much deeper level with all my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sisters, my aunties, my uncles. And two things recently, I had a nice dinner with my siblings and my dad. My dad made us some steak and some asparagus and some mashed potatoes. That was super fire. Like, my dad, he be cooking, but sometimes, it's hit or miss. But this meal was just especially on point. Like, everything was on point. The steak was on point. The asparagus was on point. The mashed potatoes were on point. So shout out to him, man. And just recently, this past weekend, so I'm recording this on January 24th, but this past weekend, the world, anybody that celebrates Lunar New Year, celebrated Lunar New Year. And my family, we celebrated. So I'm half Vietnamese, and we got together at one of my auntie uncle's place, and it was just a really wholesome time. Like, they had all kinds of good food: fried rice, egg rolls, fruit, some ribs. We also ordered some Wingstop. We had watermelon, pineapple. Doing some karaoke, drinking a couple beers, drinking some, what were we drinking? 1738. So it was a dandy, wholesome time. And like I said, it really does. I think this feeling that I have now, it stems from this idea of Memento Mori, this idea of meditating on your mortality. Is like, hey, man, all this family that I get to be around and enjoy these moments with, like, really, really cherish them, because there will come a time where some people won't get to be there anymore. And for me personally, right, this is just me speaking personally and how I view my life and how I view death and how I think about it. I think it's really important to remember that. And again, I'll say it again, just savor the heck out of those moments. So I've had some good quality time, family time, that has really just been nice and very, very wholesome. So I'm super appreciative of that. And it feels good. I think, I try not to be too superstitious, but it just feels good to have that celebration and wish all these people, like, good health and prosperity. So that's something that's part of the celebrating Lunar New Year, is like, you want to wish all your elders and all your people good health and good fortune and prosperity. And for me, one thing I add is just the ability to endure whatever life throws at you. So I'm feeling good going into the rest of this. Like I said, I'm doing a lot right now. I mean, I'm exhausted a lot of the days. My days are full, but like I mentioned, I don't say it to brag. I don't say it to complain. Definitely not complaining, because all of this is voluntary. I signed up for it. This is what I want. This is where I want to be. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling thankful. And I appreciate the heck out of being alive, being able to record this. So, Memento Mori. Meditate on your mortality, something to think about, and ponder for however it makes sense to you. Just think about it for a second. Remember that it is an inevitable part of life, but it doesn't have to be gloom and doom. I think once we make that realization, we realize that every moment counts, every interaction counts. So act that way. And might as well close again with the quote from Marcus Aurelius: "You could leave life right now." Let me read it just exactly so I don't get it wrong. You could leave life right now, Let that determine what you do and say and think. Ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thank you. And once again, holla at me if any of this is interesting. If any of this is interesting, holla at me, man. I'm really open. My line is open, and I'll do my best to get back to you. If anybody wants to hop on the pod and talk, I'm definitely open to that. Holla at me. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and hope to see you again next time.